Welcome back to another episode of RNT Fitness Radio. And I just want to start this one, as always, by saying thank you so much for the support and for listening in. This week, we are bringing you another unique one in that I was in Dubai. I was having lunch with one of my ex-clients that I met up with. And I remembered that I'd left my little sort of handheld recording gizmo in the suitcase at the hotel room. So this is the little gadget that Akash and I recorded the live podcast with Jay Ferrugia on. And I spoke to Petrina and said to her that I'd love to have her on the podcast. I think she would be an amazing guest from her backstory, her mental resilience, her positive attitude and outlook. And luckily for you guys, luckily for me, she agreed to it. So we ended up recording 90 minutes of really, really good content. This is going to be great for you that perhaps need to look at things through a different perspective. Those of you that need a little bit more mental resilience and to tough it up a little bit. Those of you that need a more positive outlook on life. As well as for those of you that are perhaps not going through such a great time at the moment and need maybe some words of encouragement, this one will be great for you. And also for those of you that know somebody that maybe isn't going through the best of times at the moment and you've been unsure how to reach out, what to say, perhaps you've left it too long. This episode will give you a few take homes for that too. So overall, this episode is it's a very psychological based one. There's very little training talk, very little nutrition talk. This is all about sort of Petrina's backstory, mindset, positivity, and I think you guys will enjoy this one and take away from it as much as I did. Enjoy. I'm sat in Dubai at the moment with one of my ex-clients that I was training in London, Petrina. And I thought that her backstory and everything that she's going through now is super unique. It's the first client that we've had on, I say client, Nick Mitchell, if you're listening to this, she's not a paying client. I'm just visiting, I promise. I'm not making money out of this. I've lost my train of thought now.
Ex-client
from years ago in London, just friends now. But Petrina has, how would you want to define it? You said health issues.
Yes.
You've gone through health issues and whatnot, and a really cool mindset that we're going to come into. So I thought that this would give just a completely different insight. It will break up the podcasts. It's not about business. It's nothing about that. This is about sort of mindset, life, training. Pretty unique. So before we go into part of the reasons to why you came and saw me at UP, let's backtrack to Petrina like 6, 7, 8 years ago. Okay. The corporate background. Talk us through that. So you've lived in New York, Hong Kong, London, now Dubai.
Yeah.
Give us the lowdown.
I think I've lived in about 5 different countries now. So I've got a pretty unique perspective on the world in general. I would say kind of 6, 7 years ago, I lived a very typical corporate, fast-paced lifestyle. So my whole life I had really focused around my education, getting a great job in the city. I started off in London in finance back in kind of the heyday before 2009 and the crash. And my whole life was just like geared up towards how can I be the most successful person I can be in a corporate sense. Yep. And to me, that's what success was. And I come from kind of a very like normal like family from Birmingham, which I don't always talk about. No offense to anyone from Birmingham, but
you got rid of the accent as well.
Well, I hope so. But like London always was like the glitz and the glamour when I was like growing up. Like I just wanted to like get to London. I just like thought that the possibilities were like endless. Mm-hmm. So just worked really hard. Ended up in the corporate world. Ended up in finance and banking, and I just really got my head down and started to build a career for myself, and things took off for me. I worked for one finance organization, a company called UBS, for a very long time. And I worked for them in London, and then I worked for them out in Singapore as well. So that was the first time that I went abroad. And living abroad then was completely different because there was no such thing as the iPhone or WhatsApp or Skype. And, if you wanted to speak to someone, you had to like pick up the phone and organize to like chat to them at 4 o'clock on an afternoon. So it was actually a really difficult transition. It's not like going and living abroad now where I feel like you can kind of take the plunge in a much softer way and still feel like you're connected with family and people back home and all around the world. It was quite isolating. I had never been that far out east before, so completely different culture. I really loved it, but I really missed home. And again, career opportunities took me back to London. I eventually, so I stayed in London for a bit and was then given an opportunity to go to Hong Kong.
Yep.
Which was where I'd always wanted to go, but I had gone to Singapore. So I was completely up for it. And at this point in my life, I was married. And I said to my husband, I was like, let's go, let's do it. Like, this was kind of the one that we always wanted to go to. So let's go to Hong Kong. Never visited Hong Kong before, but I had some friends out there. So I was like, let's go. And also it was a great career opportunity for me. I had moved at this point, and so I had left kind of the investment banking world and I'd moved over onto the buy side. So I was in an asset management firm, and had a great career opportunity. Absolutely loved Hong Kong, loved work, just did the typical Petrina thing where I just worked and I lived to work. And that's never really been an issue for me because I've just always had such a great sense of purpose with what I did. And I just loved it. I loved the environment. And I mean, I guess like in the fitness world as well, like you start seeing progress and suddenly it becomes your motivation.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I'm on a bit of a high here.
You're bitten by the bug.
Yeah. And then you get like rewarded, like in terms of your career growing. So it was a really great time. Loved Hong Kong. And then my boss left and she moved to New York. And the asset manager I worked for is headquartered in New York. It's an American company. And she picked up the phone to me one day and my husband wasn't in Hong Kong at the time. He was on a business trip. And she picked up the phone to me and she said, come to New York. I want you to move to New York. I've got a job for you. You can help me. And I said, okay, yes. Didn't talk to my husband about it. And he was on a plane and he landed that night and phoned me. And I was like, oh, hi, how was your flight? And he was like, yeah, good. Like, I'll be back in about, half an hour, 40 minutes. I was like, oh, we really need to talk, but I just want to let you know that we're going to move to New York.
Okay. Yeah.
He was like, but again, that's just kind of my personality and life with me because it's like I've always described it as the mothership calling you home. Like, if you work for this company and they want you in New York, you go to New York. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was, I mean, obviously who says no to an opportunity in New York anyway, like living there, but
once in a lifetime.
Yeah. But really for me, I was like, this is it. Like, this is like, it's going to all happen. So my husband kind of got his head around the fact that like we were moving again and our Hong Kong time was cut very short. And then we upped and we went to New York. And New York was quite the experience. And I think anyone who's ever worked there, or even if you haven't worked there, it's kind of this picture is painted of just kind of corporate America, like the New Yorker, like very hectic. And, it really is. It's very, very intense. Like the New York version working there is not the New York that you visit as a tourist. And I always say
a little bit different to my Christmas trips then.
Yeah, best place in the world to visit.
Yeah.
But when you work there, like it's pretty brutal. Okay. Like even by my standards. But again, luckily I loved what I was doing. And so, 16-hour days, like 17, like whatever. And that's why you live in an apartment that's 5 minutes walk from work, but everyone's doing it around you.
It's the norm.
Yeah. And everyone's identity is, what do you do? Like you meet someone in New York and they're like, well, what do you do? Who do you work for? Right. And so your identity is like really
based on your
built.
Status,
Yeah.
job status.
Yeah. And so was there for a couple of years.
Let's just quickly, just to rewind. Where did you meet Andrew?
Oh, so
and what does he do? Just because you've got the ability to be able to say to him, right, we're moving to New York. What does he do that allows you to be able to maneuver like that?
So actually, most of the moves have all been because of me, and then it's only the most recent move that was because of him. But Andrew and I met. So we met through UBS. he worked for an organization that did business with my department. And so we did a lot of work together, and that's how we met. And we met when we were, I like to think, like really young. And then we ended up together because I got the opportunity to move to Singapore, and we weren't even together. And I just said to him, do you want to come to Singapore with me? And he was like, this is our crazy life. So like, it seems like, I'm the person who's just telling him we're moving to New York, but like, we've just always lived like this just kind of crazy life.
Yeah.
And so I said to him like, oh, move to Singapore with me, come. And he was like, okay. Like that, like
the rest is history.
I know. And the thing is though, like it sounds so crazy, but we've been together for 11 years. So I think there's obviously something that works. But
so what does he do that allows or allowed to be able to just sort of pivot like that?
So it was always kind of normal, I guess, like normal in terms of like corporates or corporations. So he had an opportunity. So when we moved to Singapore, I was being transferred. He got a new job.
Yeah.
And then when we went to Hong Kong, he was transferring. I started a new job. Yeah. And then New York was I was being transferred. And then New York was kind of really pivotal for him in his career because there was no US based business for the organization that he worked for. And so in order to move there with me, he was like, and Andrew is like entrepreneurial. So he was working for a corporate at the time, but he was like, okay, well, I'm going to build the business for you.
It's a gap in the market, so
like, I'll build the business for you. And he created a hugely successful US business for them. And now he is an entrepreneur. He owns his own business and he does his own thing for himself now.
Yeah.
Because he's very good at building businesses. So he decided to do it for himself.
Perfect. Which is now why you're in Dubai.
Yes.
But I did interrupt you there. So we're in New York.
Yes.
It was intense. It was crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
Carry on.
Crazy. So I think then something happened to me. Mm-hmm. So I've been going 150 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And I was also pregnant. And then I had my son in New York. And I think I had about maybe 9-10 weeks maternity. They don't give you much in New York.
Yeah.
And I even remember like I was emailing a client. I was on my way to have the baby, my son, and I was like emailing a client and he was like, you really need to get back to me. And I remember being like, I'm going to just go and have my baby and I will get back to you, but it will probably be a couple of days. And I remember feeling guilty.
Oh,
like I was guilty because I was like, God, 2 days. That's so long. Like, I hope he doesn't complain about me.
Oh,
like,
geez.
it was just, but that's the mindset that you're in. So, I was kind of still working, trying to get used to being a mum, which I had massively, not realized at all, like how difficult that transition was going to be. I was like, oh yeah, I'll be fine. It's just another thing to do.
That intense workload over there.
Yeah.
Hats off to you.
Yeah. So and then that's the start. My son was 4 months old. I was in New York. I'd gone back to work, brand new baby. And then that's when my health issues started.
Yeah. So let's go into let's cut to the chase.
Yeah.
So Petrina suffered from cancer, was diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
The reason that I bring it up so abruptly like that is because Petrina doesn't shy away from it. Like she owns it and she doesn't believe in, calling it the C word and whatever.
Yeah.
So talk us through like what led you to get tested. How did you get diagnosed?
Yeah.
What was all that like? That was in New York at the time, right?
Yeah, I was in New York. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I think when I talk about it, I look back and I think I was kind of unlucky. Like, I actually don't believe in luck, to be perfectly honest, but there were a series of missteps which really led to things becoming as bad as they were for me.
Right, okay.
And so when I was pregnant and they do all of the kind of routine testing, some of my tests came back and they came back abnormal. And so they sent me off to see an oncologist. And I was 8 weeks pregnant and I went to see this oncologist and she said to me, she was like, everything's okay. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Just go and have the baby and then come back to me afterwards and we'll see how you are. But don't worry about it. So I'd had these abnormal test results. So it was like a routine smear exam. And it was abnormal, nothing to worry about, come back after I'd had the baby. So that was ticked off my to-do list, and I filtered that away and just got on with life. And then once you have a baby, you have a bunch of tests and you're kind of going through that process. And that's kind of when you are obviously on top of the baby's health and your health. And I had started to feel quite ill, and I couldn't really pinpoint what was going on with me because I was absolutely exhausted. But I'd gone back to work after 9 weeks. Had a child, he didn't sleep through the night. So I was like, well, I'm sure, ask any new mum. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm knackered. We're all knackered. So I just kind of soldiered on. But then I was in a lot of pain, which was really odd. And then I was losing a lot of blood as well. But because I'd had a C-section, sometimes after C-sections, these things can happen. So I just kept rationalize the information, because I was also, I think, kind of trying to put this into context to understand. I was flying high. I was in a happy marriage. I just had a baby, my first child. My career was taking off. Everything was awesome. Just such a great spot in life. Really enjoying things. And how does a young person get cancer? I didn't know anyone. It was in my very, very early 30s. No one gets cancer that age. You're either really old or it's childhood cancer. So I was not thinking these things. I was not thinking I'm ill, something's up. And I went to my OBGYN in New York, and he did a few tests, and it was so cliche. You see in the movies where people are testing you and they're just deadly silent and not responding.
Yeah.
And that was exactly what it was like. And he said to me, okay, they did some blood work. He was like, you need to come back. But I could tell that all was not right. So I go back into work the next day, and what they had done through that 24-hour period was they'd obviously run my blood, and I had all of the tumor markers in my blood. So suddenly, I'm on the phone to a client. Suddenly, my mobile's going, my landline's going. Then my husband starts emailing me because the doctor's calling him, and my husband's emailing me. It's popping up on my screen, and he's saying, "Get in touch with the doctor now." And I was shell shocked, because I was like, "Where's all this drama coming from? All of this, it's causing me anxiety." And so I basically had to drop everything. I went into I saw my boss, and I was like, I'm sure it's nothing, but I just have to go and check a few things out. And within 24 hours, I had a variety of different scans, tests, and just the speed and the ferocity of which they were pushing me through the system made me realize all was not good. And it was a Friday. And I went back and saw the doctor, and he said to me that you're seeing an oncologist on Monday. And what I didn't know was essentially the cancer had been growing while I was pregnant.
Right.
So the cancer, whilst the oncologist at the time thought that there was nothing to worry about, when you have a baby, your immune system is suppressed.
Yeah.
So what happened was, instead of this situation with kind of pre-cancer cells, because I had cervical cancer, probably should mention that, but I had cervical cancer, which is why there's so much importance around early detection and prevention. And what had happened was a situation that could have been avoided from precancerous cells, because our bodies get rid of viruses and colds. So in that same way, it could have been avoided. Unfortunately, because my immune system was suppressed, it basically let the cancer grow.
Right. Yeah.
And they constantly missed it throughout my pregnancy. And I had a terrible pregnancy. I was in hospital quite a lot, but they just put it down to really severe pregnancy symptoms. And and so by the time I saw the oncologist, it was mind blowing. My whole life had changed within 48 hours. My husband was just literally walking around holding a 4-month-old baby, and you've got someone telling my husband that your wife might not make it.
Yeah.
And you've now got a 4-month-old baby. And so it's not just, I think this is the thing about cancer, like it just impacts the person who has it, but it shatters everyone's lives around that person. It is a horrific disease in that regard.
So once you'd eventually come to terms with it, what was the treatment?
Yeah.
Am I right thinking you went back to London for most of the treatment, or you stayed in New York?
I stayed in New York.
Yeah.
And basically I was diagnosed so quickly and trying to get my head around certain things. Mm-hmm. And they basically said to me, so the cancer had spread. So it wasn't just cervical cancer, it spread to a lot of my other organs and my pelvis. Mm-hmm. And they wanted to put me on, and the tumor was so big that they couldn't operate to remove the tumor anymore. So I needed really intensive radiation and chemotherapy to try and shrink the tumor and also the rest of the impacted areas that had cancer. And so me and my husband, Andrew, we were trying to slow things down slightly because, to be perfectly blunt, we thought that I might die. Mm-hmm. And so I said to him, I was like, I want to go on holiday. Like, I want to, like, I was really sick at this point. Like, I was in a lot of pain. I was ill. So I was like, I just want to go away with you. And my parents came over and they looked after my son and we went to Miami. And I always joke now, I really want to go back to Miami because it was so amazing. But it was just such a, like, you know, you feel like you're doing these things because you feel like, you have to. But, like, you know, like,
you're not going to be present, are you?
It was awful.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's not going to feel like a holiday.
It was so far removed from a holiday. Yeah. But, you know, it was just kind of something that I felt like I had to do. And I'm quite and you'll know this from when you and I trained together. I'm one of those people where I have a lot of questions because I just like to understand why we're doing something. Mm-hmm. So it's not that I'm opposed to doing things. I'm just very naturally curious as to like, okay, so why that exercise? Or why do you want me to eat this over this? Or if I time this differently, does it make any difference? Yeah. So it was no different with the doctors. And I really was questioning around chemo and radiation, which kind of looking back is quite funny because it absolutely saved my life the first time. But you know, I had questions because you can't enter into something understanding, like, I mean, you know, radiation is like systematically burning you internally, externally, and chemotherapy is poisoning you. And so you just, you know, for me, I just had to ask questions. And it got to the point that the doctors were like, you need to start, you're going to die. So we did this holiday, which they weren't happy about, for 5 days, and then came back. And my treatment plan was I had radiation every single day for over 3 months. And it's quite unique because I actually had chemotherapy on top of the radiation. So I had that once a week. So I had them both simultaneously. And usually in cancer, you have like radiation and then you go into chemo. But I had them both at the same time. And, you know, I went in and I am like I'm probably even more so now, but like I've always been a very optimistic, positive person. And you've got a lot of naivety when you go into a process. And I actually think sometimes that's good because it gets you through a little bit because you've got a bit of like motivation, bit of energy. Mm-hmm. I was very like positive about my ability to kind of get through the treatment.
Cope with it, yeah.
Yeah. And it was it kicked my ass. Yeah. It was by far the hardest thing that I have ever done in my life. And I honest to God think that it broke me. Like it broke my spirit and it broke me mentally. And I would say that was a point from where you have to learn to rebuild yourself. And that's kind of, it's a huge sliding doors moment for me.
And Hugo would have been still less than 6 months, right?
Yeah. So he was, and you know, this was another thing. I never got that introduction to how to be a mum, how to look after your child, how to bond with your child. And, you know, this is kind of something like retrospectively I've been working on, because, you know, when I couldn't be with Hugo because I was either in hospital or I was like living there. I developed a heart condition. So I was kind of constantly strapped up to those electric pads to shock you. Defibrillator. So I was in a special ward where like my heart rate was so low. It was like at 28 and they couldn't get it up. Yeah. And so they just constantly had me hooked up to the defibrillators just in case. Wow. So I couldn't be near Hugo. And you know, actually, like from a being, I mean, I felt like a failure. Like, I felt like suddenly this career that I had, this job that I defined myself on, I wasn't going into work. I was useless at work. I was like not a good wife. I wasn't a good friend. I couldn't even be a mum. Like, that's meant to be our like primary human basic instinct.
Evolution. Yeah.
That's like meant to, if we're good at one thing, like you're meant to be able to be a good mum. And I just felt like useless, completely useless. It just like destroyed my confidence and took away this life that I like valued and a future that I thought I had for myself and my family and my child. Like, it took away all of that from me.
So by the time that we started training together in London, how long had you been in London before training with me? So you'd done the treatment in New York, and then did you come straight to London from that? Like, were you given the all clear in New York, or?
Yeah. So what happened was, I finished treatment and we waited. I got the all clear, and my husband. It's funny because
I imagine you're just so wiped out from all the radiation.
It's completely anticlimactic. And I remember when I got the all clear and my mum was there, and it was the first time I'd ever seen my mum just broke down. She was like, absolutely, just all this weight, this joy came off her. And for me, the thing is that they don't teach you is how to live your life after cancer. Like, there's a lot of stuff about like trying to get through and treatment, but what do you do when this life is no longer there for you? So, and I was just so traumatized from everything. And even though you've in the all clear, like I was like still very unwell. So that maybe the cancer wasn't there, but
you're still broke.
I mean, to give you some context, you know, I couldn't brush my teeth myself anymore. I was in a wheelchair. I couldn't walk. And I weighed 100 pounds. I lost a lot of weight because I couldn't eat. I couldn't eat. And that was another thing, you know, at the hospital, it's so funny, like as women, like, you know, this whole like weight loss, every day they weighed me at the hospital because they're trying to keep weight on, because it batters your immune system. And, you know, like, it's just, and we're taught like the scale going down is good, and literally everyone's trying to get you to keep weight on.
That puts into perspective, doesn't it?
And I was like, God, I can't even get this right. When I want to lose weight, I can't lose weight, and now I need to keep weight. I can't get it right. I'm useless.
I guess you know, people that haven't gone through it take for granted the point of you being told you've got the all clear. You're not walking, you're not, as you said, you're not brushing your own teeth, so it's not like shake the doctor by the hand, okay, hopefully I'll never see you again, and off you walk. It's you know, you're knackered after all the chemo, mentally, physically. So I can imagine that you've mentioned all that it would have been a bit of an anticlimax.
It's funny because actually one of the questions I always get asked is, people are like, well, what was it like when you got the all clear? Because people are like, well, you know, and I'm all for celebrating things now, but like, so people just kind of have this expectation that like somehow I did this like amazing celebration. You went out for a party that night, all the people over to the flat. And it's like, it was like, no, I mean, I was just traumatized, just absolutely traumatized.
So what was the turning point for you coming back to London?
So yes, we decided we needed to go back to London just for a bit of like family support. I mean, you can probably imagine, like, you know, when I was very ill and going through these like dark moments and not quite sure what was going to happen to me, you know, the things that I used to cling on to and hold on to really dearly were the people that I would see again, the time that I would spend with people, and I just wanted to laugh.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, you know, I mean, again, like it probably sounds really obvious, but you know, you have this health crisis, everything gets taken away from you. You know, you're not worried about when you're going to get back into the gym, or if you've got abs. You're not worried about, you know, that like handbag you want. It is all you can think about is the people in your life. And actually, for me, it was like also food.
Food, good,
yeah, because I just wanted to eat cake because I couldn't eat anything. I was essentially starving, and you know, your sense of smell and taste is so completely altered from all of the drugs as well. And I was just like, you know what? I just really want to like drink a cup of tea and eat a piece of cake with my sister-in-law, with my friend.
Yeah.
I want to see my son playing with his cousin. Those
stuff that most people day to day overlook.
Yeah. And I just that was just, nothing was more important to me. And so we went back to London, and I'd had the all clear from cancer, and then, you know, I'll just kind of talk about this, but you know, you think it's all over, and I was very naive, which again I thought was kind of a good thing. But you know, to have cancer at this stage, you think, okay, you live or you die. Like I thought it was very black and white. I was like, you get through it all and you live, and then I'll just go back to my old life. And maybe like it will take a little while, but I'll get back to my old life. And that was it in my head. I was like, I'm going to get back to my old life. I'm going to have my career. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be at the gym. Like I'm going to have all those memories and spend time with people, but like I'm going to get back. And I wasn't very well again. And it wasn't the same as kind of the cancer symptoms, but I was really ill. And I actually ended up in the hospital just like 2 days before I was meant to fly to London. I ended up in the hospital in New York, and my husband was in England, and I phoned him, and I categorically remember thinking, I am going to fall over in this street in New York on my way to hospital, and this is it. This is how it finishes for me.
Really?
Yeah, I've never experienced pain like it. And to like literally be thinking, this is it. This is how I'm going to go out. And essentially what happened was that they don't talk about was with the kind of treatment that I had, because it was so intense in the areas in which it was, which was all in kind of my pelvis. I developed something called pelvic radiation disease, and side effects from the radiation and chemotherapy. And they are lifelong now and chronic, and they are issues that I now manage on a daily basis. But that when I came back to London, so that was kind of at a juncture where I didn't have cancer anymore. We were trying to kind of get some support from family, and I was just trying to find some answers to what on earth was going on with me. And when I met you, it was very much kind of in the pursuit of just going to go back to normal. Surely I can get my old life back. So you were part of that plan.
Yeah, I remember like our first session, you talked me through. I remember the first thing was Tom, the sales guy.
Yeah.
Coming in, he was like, "Do you have this time free? This, and this?" And I was like, "No."
No.
He was like, "No, please, can you free it up?" He's like, "We've got this client. Yeah, these are the conditions and symptoms and everything.
Yeah.
And I'd rather you take her on."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh, okay. Sounds bit of a challenge." And then I sat down with you, and then I was like,
well, do you know what I said to Tom, and I remember this, and I think if anyone's had health issue, they'll understand where I'm coming from. And I said to Tom, I was like, I need someone who's not scared of all of these things that I'm dealing with. Because if you're a trainer and you're scared of all of this, like I know
into your client.
Yeah, like how are you going to help me like make progress? And that's important to me. Like I don't need hand holding. I don't need like a babysitter. I'm going to manage my health.
The complications and then work around, come up with solutions.
Yeah. But that's also like, one of the biggest things that I've learned that I would always say to someone is like, whatever you do, like whether you've got health issues or not, put yourself in the hands of someone who really understands what they are doing. You pay for what you get when it comes to personal training. It is
100%.
like you cannot expect someone to help you if they do not understand how a human body works,
Yes.
and to a high level of how it functions, and how to optimize your body to get the best performance. Not just talking goals here, but I'm just talking about like actually optimizing your body. So those were the kind of things that I was thinking, like, that put me on the path to you.
I remember the first chat, and you mentioned like the gallbladder issues, which obviously means you don't produce bile, so you can't get fats. There's working around that. And then just strength in the gym. It was just let's just move a little bit better than we did yesterday.
Exactly.
There's no need to go in and, when you've got an immune system that's already going to be suppressed and compromised, there's no point trying to stick you on a prowler. And it's just going to be it's a nightmare from day one. So you want to build up to it, and just, again, this is more for people listening to this. If you start, a gym journey and you hire a trainer that's perhaps a little overzealous, and just tell them to rein it in, that the goal for you right now is to just improve your quality of life. And at first, although you're in the gym, which is obviously physical, I think most of the benefits are probably mental. Like, you're able to switch off for that hour, so you're not thinking about everything that's gone on. You get a sense of accomplishment at the end of each session. And then as the weeks go by, you can progress the exercises, and we ended up, doing a chin up, right, which was the goal.
We did a few.
So for somebody listening, it's if you're going through this, I think it's more focused on the mental benefits that physical exercise can give, rather than the physical initially. And then, as you said, switch gears, set perhaps goals in the gym, and go after them.
And find the right trainer for yourself.
Find the right trainer. Do your homework, as you say.
Totally.
Like, this genuinely isn't a plug. I'm not training clients in person anymore, but do your research. If you can, speak to clients of the trainer, look up their qualifications, talk to them before signing up, just make sure that they understand, as Petrina said, how the human body works. Are they happy to go and do their own research outside of the sessions, after the consults, that they have as clear as an understanding as possible, while they're not a medical professional. It's our duty, isn't it? You're giving me your body for the hour. It's my job, and you're asking me to advise you to a degree on nutrition and how to improve your well-being. So I don't want to make that worse.
You need an expert. Like, I think about all of the things that we spend money on or invest time in. Like, nothing is more important. Like, you just pay for what you get. Like,
I always joke about this, that the average person spends more money servicing their car than their body.
I know. It's like,
you speak to the average person, and they don't spend that small amount of extra money on good food. Which is our fuel that we live on. They don't ever go and see, therapists, massage therapists, osteo, and whatever, when things have gone awry. They don't invest in personal trainers. If they do spend out on a gym membership to keep themselves physically active, they just take this mentality of, well, it's going to cost me money to do it professionally, so I should do it myself. I wouldn't try and MOT my own car.
Oh my God.
I could go on YouTube and try it, but I'm just going to pay an expert.
It's so funny, because actually I had this conversation quite a bit, because I still, even you were the first person to put weights in my hand, and, I've been through such a journey, but, 4 years later, my health stuff's still going on, but I'm still going to the gym, and, I really think and a lot of people say to me, well, like, can't you just train yourself now? Or why don't you train with someone like yourself who's so knowledgeable, and you use that as an opportunity to be able to train yourself? And for me, I just like, I love outsourcing that part, because I just feel like that's like not necessarily a skill that I've developed. Like, you've developed that as your career, that's your profession, like that's your passion. And in the same way that I am never going to go to Whole Foods and try and learn how to MOT my car, I'm always going to pay someone who's an
expert in their field.
Like, I can understand, like, if you've got like a subpar like trainer, like, I understand, because you're probably thinking, well, I could do it myself. But then in my mind, if you're having to ask yourself that question, you don't have the right coach.
Oh, definitely.
Because it's more than that hour in the gym as well. That 4 hours, how often ever you work out, it's the support, it's the education, it's the bouncing stuff off someone, and just, like, having that third party to be able to talk to. And, I think that's huge.
Agreed. So yeah, in a nutshell, do your homework.
Yeah.
If you are going to hire a trainer, which I would recommend, hire a good one.
And me, yeah.
Whatever the price is, in my opinion, it's worth it if they're not going to injure you.
Yeah.
And they're going to fast track your results. You get a good trainer, they're going to get your results in 12 weeks as opposed to 6-12 months.
Yeah.
So potentially, in the short term, they could end up actually saving you money.
That's right.
Let's talk about mindset.
Okay.
So as I said, you've got a pretty strong mindset, very positive one. Is that something you developed, or is it something you've always had?
Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting question. I would say that it's probably evolved.
Yeah.
I think I had a strong mindset. I did. As I kind of alluded to at the beginning, I come from a background, just kind of, a normal, like average family from Birmingham. And I wanted certain things for my life. And so I had to work for that. Mm-hmm. And so I may not have been the most intelligent person in the room, probably on all occasions, but I have always worked hard. Yeah. Always. And I'm very passionate at believing that you should work hard. And I've been knocked back a lot. Like that's just life. It's life. Through university, living in London, the amount of jobs I applied for, jobs I wanted that I didn't get, passed over for promotions, like opportunities. But then I got a lot of opportunities too. Yeah. And, it's really around like resilience. And I feel like my life and my corporate life and my background had kind of really started to develop that like resilience and that kind of outlook because, whilst I felt like I had a very strong mindset, I was always incredibly like grateful for the opportunities. Yeah. And I would say, hand on my heart, I made my own opportunities because I think I worked really hard. So that's why I was given them. Like nothing
came. New York, a random phone call. I want you in New York. Like that wouldn't have happened if you didn't bust ass together.
And what I used to do, which is interesting, is I used to run recruitment for these companies I used to work for. And one of the biggest question I ever got asked by people was, so how do I get job B over here? I'm in job A, but I don't really want to do job A. I want to do job B. So how do I get to job B? Because I'd like to apply for job B. And I used to say the same thing to everyone. I used to be like, no, you don't just get job B. You don't like job A, but you become the best at job A. So and if you are the best at job A, they will say, hey, do you want to do job B? You don't just get job B. And so that was kind of like the mindset that I always had. But it's like kind of crazy because I don't know whether it's entitlement, but a lot of people, it's like results, right? Like let's kind of bring this back to something really like tangible for a lot of people listening. Everyone wants that body at the end of the 12 weeks, but it's really hard for people to put in the work. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, Adam, like just make me look like,
I paid you the money.
Yeah, I paid you the money.
I paid you the money, so just make me look good.
Yeah, or that like meme where it's like been eating healthy for 3 days. Still look the same. Like that's life. Like it's a metaphor for life. And so
I think it's like the whole instant gratification thing. That you can just everything's instant nowadays. So you can, if you're in London, you can order something from Amazon and have it delivered that day. Yeah. You've got email on your phone. Everything's just instant on our phones now, and it carries over into life. And I want that job, so why can't I have it now? No, you have to pay your dues. Yeah. Become very fucking good at it, as you say, job A. Yeah. Do it for a period of time. You're not just gonna.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I think it's gotten worse. I think it's always been there. Yeah. But I think it has gotten worse but we all move at such a faster pace because of technology and the internet and the connectivity that we have. Like it's just the way that life's evolved. So I think kind of we're always going to be fighting against that. But I think, this mindset that I had, I think it really kind of helped me because in a different way, what I've experienced has been, I said like the sliding doors moment was that treatment because it was the hardest thing I've ever gone through. It was the most humbling, completely like it broke me down as a person. And all of these things that you think if you'd say, oh, well, who's Petrina? And I would have told you, well, Petrina is X, Y, Z. Though I didn't have those things anymore. They weren't things that I could call and define myself by. And I had to really figure out who I was as a person. And thought that I would get better. And yes, I had the orchid from cancer. I've subsequently had cancer again. So I had to deal with that. And then on top of that, I've had to deal with all of the side effects and the chronic illnesses that are basically, things that I deal with on a daily basis. And it's completely altered my life. So, I had this life, and it got taken away from me. And in many ways, it got taken away from my husband as well.
Definitely.
And, you think rejection, and you think about starting over, or you think about what it takes in terms of mental strength, to get back up when you get knocked down. But nothing has taught me more than that these last 4 years. Yeah. Because if I was the type of person where my happiness was, predicated on what other people were doing or comparison, I would be the most miserable person ever. Because, if you look at things negatively, if you look at what I've lost or the limitations that I have, the things that I can no longer do, like the organs that don't function, how I have to plan my days, how I live in pain, even really basic things, like there was a period of time where I couldn't be alone with my son because if I dropped down on the floor, what was going to happen? Yeah. So I couldn't even participate in my life. And the way I describe it to people is I spent a long time sitting on the sidelines of my life looking at watching. Yeah. And I made a promise to myself that, I knew that it wasn't going to be all the time, but there were going to be some days that were better than others. Yeah. And in the days that were better than others, and then where opportunities presented themselves, I was going to grab my opportunities and I was going to smash the shit out of them. Perfect. And that is what my mindset is. It's not perfect, but it's my life. Yeah. And
you're making the best of it.
Yeah. And I don't see loss, and I don't see limitations. I see opportunities. So even now, I'm going through a process whereby I've had some really bad news about the state of my bladder, because it looks like it's just damaged to a point where I might have to have it completely removed, which is obviously really devastating, still after 4 years and being a positive person, I don't want to, it's hard. It's hard, And I'm doing some treatment at the moment, which is 50-50 whether it will work, but it's really last roll of the dice. So I'm going to the hospital every single day. And, to me, every day I go into the hospital and I just think, I'm so lucky really, because this is an opportunity. It's not just treatment, it's an opportunity. I'm getting an opportunity that maybe I'm going to get better. Yeah. Maybe it won't work, but
you've got the opportunity to at least explore it.
Exactly. Yeah. So make the most out of it. And then I think about, okay, the other thing I've put a lot of thought into is, well, what do I want to do with this time that I've got? Because maybe in 6-8 weeks time, I'm going to sit in front of a doctor and they're going to say, okay, you're going to have some life-altering surgery coming up. Mm-hmm. And then I'm not going to be able to do certain things because there's going to be the surgery and the recovery and adapting to living with a stoma. So I'm doing everything that I can. Okay, what do I want to do? I want to do some stuff at the gym. I want to hit some PBs. I want to feel really good about myself. And, which I live in Dubai, I want to feel good in a bikini, So that's what I'm doing, and that's what I'm focusing on, because it's just really your perspective. And so again, kind of bringing it back to the gym, and I think that's relatable. I go into the gym, and I have done for the last 4 years, even when I met you, it's a privilege. Yeah. And so many people moan to me.
Resent going to the gym, and I'm like, motherfucker, there's people with no legs, there's people that have gone through what you've gone through.
It kills me. And even some of my best friends, I've got a really good girlfriend now. She's just signed herself up for a transformation. And she's on the phone to me and she's like, what am I doing? I'm so stressed. She's like, I don't know how to fill in this tracker and I've ordered the wrong food. And she's beside herself because she's ordered the wrong food and she can't fill in the tracker. And I've said to her, look, It's just new. Like
none
of us like new stuff because we're not good at it.
Yeah.
And so like once you get into this, and she was like going on, and I said to her, I love you, but I'm telling you now, like you can moan to me, but you can't wallow. That's my rule. Moan, but don't wallow, because I don't believe in positivity just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
That's rubbish as well. Like we're all entitled to, like, you think I don't feel down sometimes? Like,
you're a human, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You experience highs and the lows.
Yeah, but I just don't wallow. That's the difference. But I'm not going to be a complete moron and be like, oh, cancer was the best thing that ever happened to me. No, it wasn't. And I would change it. Like I would, if I could go back, even having all of this perspective and this gratitude and this attitude, I would still change it.
Of course.
Because it's cancer. But I said to my friend, I was like, stop. I'm like, it's a privilege. Like, not many people, like, you're investing this money into yourself. You're getting, like, to go in using your healthy body, like, just be like, wow, actually, that's pretty cool.
It's similar to contest prep. Right,
Yeah.
so you've seen me on contest prep. I'm a fucking asshole, and I don't mean to be. Like, I hold my hands up.
You trained me when you talk about that 6-week prep on your podcast all the time, and you know when I hear you talking about
Flashbacks.
that, oh my god, I'm literally like, yeah, I know, Adam.
Yeah, I tell people the story when I was training you, and I just basically when I prep and I'm in the final stages. I have no filter, so people already think that I'm blunt and I don't sugarcoat, but there is zero filter. It's just the thought comes into my head it's out there.
Yeah.
I do always reflect on it afterwards and think, why the did I say that? So yeah, there is that. However, the positive, I say positive, a neutral point is that although I do these preps and I'm sure I have no filter or whatever, you'll never hear me moan.
Yeah. You never moan.
I won't moan.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where one of my old colleagues, she kept asking me every day I'd come in, she asked the same question.
Yeah.
Hey, how you feeling today? Oh, it's prep hard. And it got to the point where I said to her, like, I appreciate your asking, but I don't give it. Like, it's going to be shit. I've chosen to do this.
Choice.
I'm in a good position to be able to do this.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's hard work. I feel like crap.
Yeah.
But I'm choosing it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to feel like shit until this show is done.
Yeah.
Don't waste your breath asking me. I know you've got good intentions, but I bring it on myself. I don't want sympathy.
Yeah.
Just let me be.
Yeah.
And she's like, nobody's ever said that. Most people just, I was like, well, I can bitch and moan about it. And I'm choosing to do it. I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where I can put my body through this.
Yeah.
It's.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't get me, I know I'm short when I do it, but I'm not expecting sympathy. I'm not
Yeah.
I would literally just walk into the gym, look at the floor, wouldn't make eye contact with my colleagues.
Yeah.
And I would just sit in the massage room in the dark, just by myself. And I was happy, just get it on. I would, attempt to try and bring some energy to my client sessions. Try not to offend them, which didn't always work out. But I would never moan.
Yeah.
And that was my whole thing. When I hear people moaning on Instagram or to me, physically, oh, I've got to go do my cardio. Oh, I'm so hungry. You've chosen to do this. Your body is healthy enough.
Yeah.
And you have the time resources, the financial resources and all of this to be able to do something like a show prep. It's going to suck, but nobody's holding a gun to your head.
Yeah. I that is such a good piece of advice, and it's so simplistic, but it's completely true. Like it's a choice. And with clients as well, like sometimes we just get so into our own heads. It's like, if you take a step back and you have some perspective, it's like, hang on a second here, this is a choice. And it's a really privileged choice.
Some people can't.
I know. I said this, and again, I said this to my friend because she was saying, and I was like, honey, no one's holding a gun to your head. I was like, I've got to go to hospital every day. This isn't a choice.
This isn't a choice. This is necessity. This is life for me. But
completely.
You doing your meal prep and you going to the gym twice a day, once to do your cardio, to do your weight training, strength training.
Yeah.
That's a fucking privilege.
Yeah, it is.
You're choosing to make it hard on yourself. You're choosing to controllably starve yourself because you want an end result. And whatever. So don't wallow. Don't wallow in self-pity. Like you should
can moan, but then there comes a point where, and I think that this is the thing about mindset and what I feel, because like you said, everyone's human and you're allowed to feel what you feel. And I don't think that anyone should suppress emotion because they put a label on it as negative or positive. But I feel that if you cultivate your mindset, you cultivate your perspective, then you will find that you will have much less of this like down, negative in your head, feeling stressed out about the decisions that you're making. because you'll be able to really bring it down to this is a choice, this is a privilege, and you'll start to see things differently. And I really believe that, like, I think it just kind of perpetuates itself. You get into this like loop of like starting to express gratitude, like you're grateful for things, you're positive, and your perspective changes, and you're not faking it. It's like, it's really just, real. It's real.
It's just, you've had a shift in perspective. Exactly. So for somebody that has, or say somebody's just been diagnosed with the bad news.
Yeah.
And they're midway through going through this.
Yeah.
What's your advice to somebody?
Yeah.
Is it mindset? Is it physical advice? Like, what are the big takeaways that you could give to somebody that, if they're listening to this, could give them kind of that light at the end of the tunnel?
If someone's been diagnosed and they're going through this, my biggest piece of advice is your journey is absolutely unique. And what I did not realize was that regardless of anyone else having cancer, you've now got cancer, your experience will not be their experience. And so you are entitled to experience it in any way that you feel. If you're positive and happy in terms of feeling energized going into treatment, or optimistic, and that's your mode of operation, that's what works for you, own it. If you feel sad and devastated about the news, again, that's perfectly all right. Like, I think, you know, in the cancer world especially, like, you'd be shocked how much judgment there is. Like, you know, don't be negative, don't positivity is half the battle. Well, no, it's not, because otherwise people wouldn't die. Like, it's just ridiculous. So, like, and also understand that, you know, someone else, like, this was another thing for me. I had like an active lifestyle before. I thought I'd be running like 10Ks, half marathons. I was like, I'm going to get through this, and I'm going to run for charity, and I'm going to go back to work, because my boss had breast cancer and she worked through chemotherapy. So I was like, okay, well, like, you know, that person's doing it. So like, I'm going to do it. And I lived in hospital. I was in a wheelchair. And so again, going back to this whole, like, if you're comparing yourself, you feel like a failure. And when I had cancer, I compared myself to every single person that had cancer. So my biggest piece of advice for anyone that I've learned now is if this is happening to you, or you have health issues of any sort, do not compare yourself to anyone. And I always say this because when people have cancer or recovering from cancer, I get a lot of questions around like, okay, so should I just be doing what you do? Like, how did you get back into fitness? What's the right thing to do? Blah, blah, blah. And I always say, don't compare yourself to me. Like, I don't know. Like, I still don't know. But the one thing that I know is, like, I know me.
Yeah.
And that's what the last 4 years has taught me. And I wish that I could go back in time, and I wish that someone had told me when I had cancer that it's okay. Like, everything that's happening, it's okay.
Yeah.
Because I felt like a failure because I wasn't doing these 10Ks, half marathons, being a mom, like, you know. So again, we're just all different. We're all unique. Everyone's going to experience things in their way because it's through their lens.
Yeah.
So just give yourself a break.
Perfect. And how about your advice to, and this is one that we spoke about before, is what would your advice be to somebody that is listening to this and maybe has a friend or a relative going through cancer?
Yeah.
And they're overthinking their responses and stuff. So I'll be open on this. Petrina and I were talking that I fell into this trap where, you know, I've known Petrina now for maybe like
4 years.
Long time.
Long time.
And, you know, recently I saw that things hadn't been so great from the health perspective through social media. And I started writing a message and I was overthinking it. I'm like, oh, do I ask that question? Do I not? Do I? And then, which is really fucking weird. And then, you know, a week goes by and you see another post and you're like, fuck, I was meant to message last week, but now I've left it too long. And it just cascades and you overthink it. And the reality is, and I think you're about to give this message, is that, like, just reach out, just be human.
Yeah.
Just be a friend.
Yeah.
You don't need to write some novel. You don't need to, you know.
Yeah.
What would...
That's, I think, first of all, like, it's more common than you realize. So, like, obviously, you know, we can talk about it because you kind of went through that with me, but I've got instances of other people where, like, honestly, 4 years later, they've still not reached out.
Yeah.
And I had some feedback from one person who got in touch with me very recently who wanted to like catch up. And, you know, I said to them, like, there's no resentment or like anything on my side, but like 4 years has gone past and they said to me, you know, it was too much for me. Yeah. And I said to them, but it was about me. Like, it wasn't about you. And, you know, I think that people, and I'm not saying that it is not, like, this is the thing about cancer. It's just, it's devastating because it just ripples through, like, anyone that loves the person that is affected by this disease is just devastated because it's the uncertainty.
It's the uncertainty. And you can't do anything.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. But this is the thing, like that person who's been diagnosed, like, I know, like, no one's going to, you're not going to be able to help me. And you know what? Sometimes the best way to be in contact with someone is, first of all, be in contact with them. That's the first thing. Just don't overanalyze it. And to me, the best messages are, hey, I don't know all of the details. I've only picked up on bits and pieces. I just want you to know that I'm thinking about you. And there's no pressure to reply to this, because that's a big thing as well. Because sometimes, like, when you're sick, like, you feel like there's pressure and like, so there's no pressure to reply to this. I just want you to know I'm thinking about you. And, you know, if you're around to catch up, you want to talk, like, I'm here. And that way you're not really saying anything, but all you're saying is, I'm here.
You. Yeah. I'm here if you need me.
I'm thinking about you.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like, that's actually all you wanted to say. But you're overanalyzing it. You're thinking, but she's got cancer.
Yeah, it's just this big, like, taboo thing, isn't it? Where that's why I made a point of, you know, originally when I wrote these questions out, you know, I labeled it as the C word. And then I was like, that's against what Petrina thinks.
Yeah, no.
Just call it what it is. It's cancer.
Yeah.
But it does have this stigma attached to it that it's, you know, as you say, it's the uncertainty and everything.
Yeah.
You can't call it cancer. It's, you know, it's...
Yeah.
So you do start overanalyzing it and you don't know, what do I ask? What don't I ask? And it's, the truth is, just ask that person's okay and just message and just, as you say, just show that you're there.
And something else I would say is it's never too late. Like, I mean, obviously I've just given that example where I've kind of thought that it was too late after 4 years. But if someone's gone through this and it's like a few months, like even a year, like just if you're listening to this and you have someone who is going through this, like just pick up the phone and message them now. And just don't overanalyze it in terms of being like, I'm so sorry, I haven't been in touch. This is why, blah, 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 because it's not about you. Just say, I wish that I had sent this sooner. I didn't really know what to say. I am thinking about you. I always have been. And if there's anything that I can do, let me know. And you know what? Maybe you'll get a reply, maybe not, but it's not about you anymore. It's about that person. So... yeah.
Perfect. I think we'll probably be surprised at how many people will listen to this, and they'll know somebody that's going through it, and they perhaps know that they haven't reached out, you know, in a while, and hopefully this prompts people to.
But I think it's any traumatic event. Like, it's not just cancer.
No, it's not just. It's definitely not just cancer. It's any traumatic event. It's like, always like, oh, what do you say? Yeah, depression, like, parents dying. There's so many things. For sure, it's just that overanalyzing, isn't it? Do I say the right thing, the wrong thing? And the truth is, just say something.
Yeah, people just want to know, something. Like, that's the thing. What's meant the most to me is just it's just when you know that people are there. I know that no one can do anything. Like, what are you going to do for me? Like, no one can do anything for me. Yeah. But what I know is, like, actually, like, people,
they give a shit.
Yeah. And also, when you have this stuff going on, like, I think about the things that bring me happiness and joy and pleasure. And people are at the top of my list. Yeah. I love people. I love my family. I love my friends. I like meeting new people. And so to know that you're in contact, like, maybe you're going to bring something into my life that, like, you know, because I'm dealing with all of this other stuff, that makes me happy. Yeah. You know?
So in an indirect way, you are having a positive effect.
Exactly. Perfect. You know, don't underestimate that.
Yeah. Let's switch topics onto where we're at now, Dubai.
Yes.
What brought you here? Any regrets? How's it going?
So Dubai, in typical us fashion, was a complete, like, 180. So we're in London. We're kind of like bobbing along, like with health stuff. And like, to be honest, we hadn't really wanted to move back to London. If I had never gotten cancer, I think we'd still be in New York, probably still be living like our crazy lives. We had always been to Dubai. So like years and years, like I remember Dubai, like in 2003, I think I first visited here.
Completely different, right? I first went in 2002. And it was like, there was something called the Country Club that everybody went to. There was, I think, like
the
two very small
Hilton
malls.
was new, and it was like, wow. And now, like, I think someone went to the Hilton.
Crazy.
Yeah. So it was just this place that we've always gravitated to. We've always loved. And if we've ever been like, oh, should we go on holiday? We always went to Dubai. So we were like, let's move to Dubai. And then we were like putting everything in place. And then we were like, no. And we bought a house in the UK. We enrolled my son at school. And then we came on holiday that we planned out here. And we were on holiday. And me and my husband looked at each other and we're like, what are we doing? Like, this is against everything that like I kind of talk about. Like, because I'm a big believer in you like get opportunity and you go for it. Like, because you don't know when your next opportunity is going to come. So you either create it or you take it.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there and I was like, we've got this huge opportunity. Like, it might not work out, but
we'll always move back.
Yeah. I was like, what are we doing? We like love moving countries. Let's go. Let's do it. And I had finished at my company. So that kind of chapter of my life had closed. And quite honestly, because of the state in terms of my illness, like my husband really just wanted to try and have some normality. Yeah. And he could work out here because, as I said at the beginning, he's got his own business. And so the whole plan was to move out here. He's going to do his business out here. And I'm going to move away from the corporate world because, you know, I don't know that, like, I mean, so many people now are like kind of talk about like, what does the corporate world do in terms of like your overall health and well-being? Like, I don't think that I got cancer because of the corporate world, but like I lived a very different life then to I do now. Like I didn't know how to relax as a person.
It might not have given you cancer, but for most in the corporate world, they're probably not living what we would call healthy lives.
Yeah.
Mentally more than physically.
Yeah. And like, because, and just physically, it all takes a toll on your body. And so that's why we moved out here. And out of everywhere that I've lived, those places that I've listed, this is by far my favorite. I love it. I'm like, no regrets. It's amazing. And it's probably a bit of a reflection just in terms of the pace of life. Like, you know, I've lived in like Hong Kong, New York, London, like, yeah. Whereas here, like, it's just, I feel like it's like so relaxing. Just, I love that pace of life. You wake up and the sun is shining and everyone's just happier. Like people are going to work, but it's just like life is just kind of happier. And I feel like people are more interested in kind of other people here. Whereas I went back to London recently because I go back all of the time for my health. And all of my doctors and my medical team are all in London because they're like some of the best cancer specialists at the Royal Marsden. And I just feel like you'd fall down on the tube and someone would step over you because they were late to work. Like, I just don't know where kind of like there's any compassion left. I don't know. Cynical.
No, I think there's something to it with the people here. Everyone's just trying to help each other out.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I came to Dubai alone, I met somebody through a friend and then she introduced me to their friend.
Yeah.
A girl called Hanan that every time I'm over here, I always catch up with her. She drives me around all the places. And then this trip, obviously, I've met with you.
Yeah.
Met with my client, Becca, who introduced me to her friend, who said, anytime you need a hand, give me a shout. If you're looking at moving over here, you can stay on my sofa.
Yeah.
You know, just, as you say, kind of in London.
Yeah.
You don't get that as much.
Yeah.
There's like a willingness to help people over here.
Totally. And I don't know whether that's expat life, but I didn't have it much in New York. And then Hong Kong was a little different because I knew a lot of people there. But I definitely feel like there's just more of a community willingness here. And that's also what I love for my son though as well, because there's like a real community vibe here. So like also where we live, because, you know, I'm old and have a child. When I say old, I just mean not in my 20s. And you know, like they all play outside, and they have their bikes and they go looking for sticks after school.
Nice.
And because, like, I mean, one of my friends came to visit and she was like, oh, it's like that Wisteria Lane. She's like, that's what it's like, what you live on. Because I guess that's what it is like. But like, I can't imagine. And like, you know, my son will go into the swimming pool after school, and like, it's just like a very nice life for him, and it's so safe. And you know, I think that's just like a different kind of sense of community.
So if somebody hasn't been to Dubai and they're going to do a trip over here for say 5 to 7 days, what would be the top 3 things you would say somebody should do?
So I will do it from the perspective of not having a child, because I've got two views on that. But if you come over here, so I think the first thing, which is just so synonymous with Dubai, is brunch.
Yeah, I was meant to be going on one tomorrow, but I'm flying out.
Oh yeah,
again, like haven't even met these people before.
Yeah,
they've invited me to brunch tomorrow.
And how fun is brunch though?
Oh, it's great.
And like, even with a bunch of strangers, like I would go with a bunch of strangers. But like, it's such a Dubai thing to do. So basically, for anyone who doesn't know, brunch is not like what it is in England, which is just like where the menu changes on a weekend and you go to like West London and pay a lot of money for eggs and avocado. It's
completely different.
completely different. That's not brunch. So basically, all of the hotels here, they have like, you pay depending on what you want to drink, but it's free flow alcohol, so it gets really messy, and then all you can eat food, and the food is insane because there's so much variety, but the quality of the food is really good. And you basically just like sit there, chat, hang out, drink, eat. I mean, what could be more?
What's amazing is
people, food, and alcohol. What's better than that?
What's cool is it feels like, you know, a complete like night out almost.
Yeah.
But you're back by like 7 p.m.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the brunch is usually, like 12 till 4 or something like that. Or maybe earlier, I can't remember.
Yeah.
I remember being back. We'd, the last brunch I did, we'd done the brunch and then we went to a club afterwards. And I was white girl wasted.
White girl wasted.
I was white girl wasted.
Yeah.
I think I got back to the apartment, ordered Domino's. I'm really selling this to my clients.
You ordered Domino's. You went to the...
Yeah, I ordered Domino's to this hotel. It was on my last trip.
Go for like a really nice brunch, and then
and then ruined it with Domino's.
And
I think I looked at my watch. I was tempted. I think I looked at my watch and it was like 9 p.m.
Yeah.
So by the time I'd woken up the next day, I felt like I'd had a complete night out.
Yeah.
I had no hangover.
I know, it's brilliant.
Slept it off.
So
it was
good.
Amazing. I felt refreshed in the morning.
So you have
sociable.
to, but in order to do brunch, you have to be here on a Friday, right? Like,
that's the problem. I fly out tomorrow. I need to be at the airport by 10:30.
Yeah.
They start like 11 or something like that.
There are brunches on Saturdays, but like, honestly, like Friday is still the day. So if you're planning a trip, like you should...
Don't do what I've done and fly back on Friday.
Yeah.
Friday is the Saturday.
But you've also done them before.
Hey, I've done them before.
You've had the experience.
Yeah.
My other favorite thing to do here is the Dubai fountains.
Yes.
I think it's like super overlooked, like, but it's incredible and it's free.
Yeah.
Like, which is really rare for Dubai. But that's downtown by the Burj Khalifa. So you get this incredible view, this incredible light show, and it's on every hour. And just my kind of, I guess, like insider tips. There's 2 things that I would do that people don't know about. So you can get a little boat and pay to get a little boat that takes you out into the middle of the lake. And so you're in the middle of the lake when the fountain show happens.
That's pretty cool.
It's really cool. Yeah. So it's all going on around you. And then they like kind of take you around the lake.
Yeah.
And it's like not lengthy, so it's not boring. Yeah. And it's like you're in the middle of it. And then my other tip is it's right next to Dubai Mall. So there's loads of places to eat. But on one other side, it's connected to a hotel. So the hotels have liquor licenses. So if you go to the right side where you go to a restaurant, you can eat in the restaurant and then you see all of the fountain shows every hour. Plus, like, you can have a drink. Like if you go to Dubai Mall, like you can't drink, obviously. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like my
what I did
insider.
On the last trip, if anyone wants to treat themselves on the last night, is there's an Indian restaurant in the Armani hotel called Amal.
Okay.
And that overlooks the fountain. So you're built halfway up the Burj.
Yeah.
So you look directly up. You're sat on a balcony outside. You look up and you've got all the lights of the Burj going on at night.
Yeah.
And then you look down to your right and you've got the Dubai fountains. So if anyone is planning a trip and you want to, have a little bit of a fancy meal on the last night, Amal at the Armani is amazing. Really good Indian food.
There's some really nice Italians though, right next to the fountains, which are reasonably priced. I mean, anywhere with a liquor license,
it's going to
be more expensive. But yeah, I think there's a Serafina, and it's nice.
Yeah.
Like the food's good, not like ridiculously. I mean, it's expensive, but like but I love the Dubai fountains.
Yeah, me too.
I just I wish I could go like even more. I love it. Yeah. But that's awesome. Seeing like the Burj as well. Another thing that I love is Kite Beach, and
I've never been there.
Yeah, I think it's not really like, I mean, I don't know, maybe it is on the touristy thing, but I feel like it's like one of those places that if you live here, you know about. So the thing about Kite Beach is, first of all, like you get the most spectacular view of the Burj Al Arab, which is like the sail building. So that's fairly iconic. And then it has the best beach. So it's a public beach, but it's really beautiful. Like the sand is really nice and the water. It's just like one of my favorite beaches. And then it's just got like a really long strip, like really long walkway. So it's like awesome for like walking, like honestly, like it's just a great place to like walk in the morning, get steps in. Like you don't even have to go to the beach. Like it's just beautiful. You just
go do a walk around.
And then they have really good food there as well. So it's all like food trucks and like little restaurants, but really good and like healthy options. Because I think Dubai is like getting it's good on the kind of healthy options.
Every time I come over, it's getting better and better. So it was super like Americanized at one point, where it was, Five Guys, McDonald's, all this sort of stuff.
And that's
Cheesecake
still
Factory,
there, right?
And they're all still there. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah,
which I love. But it just means that now I can balance it out.
It's like, it makes me laugh so much. Like, so I have all of these allergies as a result of the cancer treatment. And so like, I have to eat in a very specific way. So my diet is very, I wouldn't say restrictive because it's given me back my life. But like I have to eat in a certain way, and Dubai is now catering for that. But I always laugh when like I hear you, because like you just have gut health like me. But you don't do anything about it. Every time I hear you on a podcast, I'm like sending you a text message. I'm like, Adam.
I know.
So like you've been here. I tried to take you out to like,
Yeah, I ate one of that place, salmon and scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
Perfect. I digested that well. But then later that night, I did find myself in Cheesecake Factory.
I knew as soon as you got here, I was like, a visit to Dubai without the Cheesecake Factory.
You've got to do it. The other place that I always try and tick off that actually this trip I won't get to do, and it's probably for the best, is Cold Stone Creamery, the ice cream place.
My husband is obsessed.
Oh man, it's so good.
Obsessed. And my little boy is obsessed with ice cream. But this is another thing that I've kind of gotten him into. So me and my husband have completely different diets.
Yeah.
Like my son eats pretty well, actually. I'm really lucky. But I have taught him, which is like really cruel, probably as a parent. So over here, there's a thing called with like banana ice cream. And so there's actually stores which have just created ice cream from bananas. Okay. So like nice cream, but like it's available. Like you can get it on Deliveroo, you can go out and buy it. So it's like it's more of a thing here than like making it at home. Uh-huh. And so my son now actually thinks that is what ice cream tastes like, because that is the ice cream I give him. So then when he has like the other ice cream, he doesn't like it so much.
It's too thickly for him.
Yeah. My husband thinks it's so cruel of me. He's like, you're ruining his childhood. Like, literally.
In the long run, you do
literally.
it.
And I'm like, as I sit there watching him eat pizza and French fries with his father, I'm like, he's fine.
He's okay.
He's living balance.
Living balance. I like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely recommend. I think there are 3. I haven't checked out Kite Beach, but definitely Dubai fountains are amazing.
Yeah, amazing.
Really cool. And as you say, free as well. You can just stand under
yeah.
them. Really good atmosphere. Everyone has their phones out recording it. It's cool.
Yeah, because you can list off a whole bunch of stuff here that's going to cost you money. But like for me, like those things are the best here, and they don't cost you money. Like there's a new beach as well, La Mer. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Somebody's mentioned that the other day.
Yeah,
I don't know where it is.
I went once and it wasn't great because it wasn't finished under construction, but the water park there is meant to be amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's meant to be really good actually. And I think that it's not free, but like it's because it's a public beach. Yeah. There's loads of restaurants. It's completely new, so very Dubai clean. So you definitely have to check that out next time you're there.
Definitely. I'm down with that.
That's a good one, yeah.
Perfect. What was I going to say? Training and nutrition currently.
Oh yes, yeah.
Where's it at now? So you've been working with Chris at UP, right? Chris Beavers.
Yes.
You still working with him?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So
how does the training look?
So I always like joke around that I think like I'm probably, I'd like, you know, this as well, like I'm probably like one of the hardest clients like to train, because the thing is that people don't appreciate is like it's just not normal, like the stuff that goes on with my body. So just this year alone, I have had 3 surgeries, like big surgeries. I've had 5 blood transfusions, iron transfusions. I nearly like I pretty much lost, I think I was telling you, I pretty much lost like all of my blood volume at one point. Like I was severely like pretty on the brink there. Like, and so all of these things like affect you. And so like, so I work with Chris. I met Chris last year. So I met him through my husband, because my husband was training with him. And my husband was like, oh, you should meet Chris at UP. I think that you'd really like him and you'd like training with him. And I was going through a really tough time because I trained with you and, you know, had kind of built up some confidence. But, you know, when I talk about mindset and resilience, like I had just been like battered with like, you know, not like bad news, like not great news. Like I'd had cancer again, you know, my body just didn't work. I wasn't working professionally. I didn't know who I was. Like, you know, all of these things like create confidence and a sense of identity. And I was diagnosed with autoimmune disease as well, which I wasn't dealing very well with. And I met Chris, and Chris was trying to help me. And I, you know, just had so much emotional baggage. And I think that this is, like, you probably see this like with your clients. And I said to Chris, I said initially, just train me, like just train me. And also I didn't actually share with Chris like a lot of my health issues. So he was kind of going in blind, and I was like, just train me. That's all I want to do. Like, I don't want to do a transformation. That's not my goal. Like, I'm just trying to like get through my life. Mm-hmm. So it was like very, it was like really difficult, because like he would constantly be like probing me about like nutrition and eating, and he knew I had all of these allergies and he was trying to help me. And I was literally like, will this guy leave me alone? I was like, God, this guy's like on at me all the time. Like, just leave me alone. Because like,
and that's the sign of a good trainer, right?
Yeah,
this is actually a good trainer. He's creating more work for himself.
But
at the time, obviously, it's the last thing you want. But it shows that when we were talking about, you know, doing your homework on a trainer, trainer that's actively trying to keep reigniting that talk with diet is a sign of a trainer that's trying to go out of their way. So, well, like, kudos to him.
By all, like, honestly, like I look back and like, by all accounts, like any bad trainer would have just totally ditched me.
Oh, 100%.
Because they just would have taken my money, and just been like, oh, well, like she doesn't want to, whatever, just let her get on with it. It's a choice. She's choosing.
They'd have just counted like, your reps for the hour.
Yeah, just like gone through. And he made me realize, like, there came a point, there was a really defining moment where I was very, very sick last Christmas, and I had lots of instances where I'd kind of been like building up to this because of the allergies that I've got. And basically like my immune system just completely collapsed. And I was very ill, and I had a really long look at myself, and I realized I was just completely sabotaging myself. Like, no one was to blame but myself. And I had someone who wanted to help me, and I was basically not taking them up on that help. So counterintuitive. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I saw Chris and I was like, okay, like, let's just do it. Whatever you want to do, like, let's just do it. And so he wrote like me a new program. And I think the things that, you know, I've taken away from this is like, you know, he had a really strong sense, and he still does, because I still train with him now. Like, my goals are different, but, you know, he's probably always believed in me more than I've believed in myself. Yeah. And so going back to having a good trainer, you know, I think like a lot of clients will be like, I can't do that. I can't, like, I've got this issue. I've got that issue. I can't pick up the 17s or whatever. Yeah. And when you've got someone that believes in you, and they're just like, you know, it's like, keep going. Yeah. So, you know, he's got me through a lot, because as I said, you know, I've had these like, and like, it's no small thing, because how do you try and motivate someone who's got health issues? You know, we already feel like we're not accomplishing the things in life that we want to accomplish. So you've got to try and keep us motivated. Like, you know, 1 minute I'm like hitting PBs and the next I can barely lift weights because I just lost all of my blood. Like, what does that do for someone psychologically? And so he's been very good at really just helping me believe in myself again, like, through this whole program. And, you know, he worked with like my doctors and created a nutritional program for me, which I follow. And as I said, I think some people would think that it's restrictive, but it's just utterly changed my life.
Well, yeah, on the outside, and because I haven't listened and gone down that route, you know, the initial thought is you look at it and it's restrictive, but actually, if it's a small restriction there that then gives you more freedom and a better quality of life, then as you say, is it really restrictive? No, it's just common fucking sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Half of this population don't listen to because we're eating foods that don't agree with us, right? We want that short, you know, it goes back to the conversation we had before the podcast, talking about, you know, my mindset with always going after that short-term reward. Yeah. And it's that, well, this cheesecake is going to taste good now. Yeah. I don't care about the long-term consequences that I'm going to go to bed clutching my stomach for the next 4 hours. Yeah. Because I've got 5 minutes of heaven. Yeah. Yeah. It's so
I know the trade-off for me, like I wouldn't do that now.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just good. I mean, I've made that connection with certain foods. Yeah. So like milk chocolate, I won't eat milk chocolate. Yeah. I'll only ever eat a couple of squares of dark chocolate. Yeah. And I used to.
Oh, I love chocolate.
Well, I used chocolate.
To
years
my
ago,
dream.
Years and years ago, you know, like milk chocolate was the thing. One of my exes and I would DVD night, you know, eat really well. Yeah, and then we would have like bags of buttons or this or that.
Oh my gosh.
Every time I did it, you know, I was crippled. Yeah. But I just kept doing it every other week. Yeah. And then there came a point where it's like, actually, you know what? This is hurting me so much. Yeah. Now you won't really see me eat milk chocolate. Oh, it's it's not unless I'm at perhaps like a restaurant or fancy a dessert, it's a social occasion maybe. Different. However, when it comes to coming to Dubai and being faced with Cheesecake Factory, it's still my Achilles heel. That's different. It doesn't count. I'm in another country.
Something I have thought about a lot of late though, just like thinking about what I do training wise now, like a big thing that I've learned in terms of my health and managing it is, you know, and I had just started training with you. It was like short-term view. Now I have such a long-term view around strength training, and I have been through so much. And a lot of the time people, because we still judge people on outward, like what you look like. Yeah. A lot of the time, like, honestly, people don't realize like how sick I actually am and the stuff that I'm doing at the gym. I swear that the strength training has completely meant that I've recovered quicker. I like am much more capable. Like, I don't think that my downtime is as long. Perfect. Like, I'm not saying that it's perfect. I'm not perfect, but I do really believe in the power of just having like a base of strength training. And I've traditionally done like a lot of different classes and cardio and stuff. And like now that my strength training is my base, and that is like the fundamental thing that's really helped my health. And then anything else that I can do as and when I do because I enjoy, but that's strength training, and I enjoy strength training, but it's really the base. It's really the crux.
That's the bread and butter.
But what I've learned is like, you've got to be strong. And like, I really feel like physically, if you're strong, it cultivates your mindset as well. Because as I said, like this year, I have spent a lot of time in a hospital bed again. And you know what? I think I've bounced back a lot quicker this year than I did last year when I was really down about things, because I believe like the strength training and just feeling physically strong and having something to focus on when I get out. Like, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm in hospital, but I'm going to get out. I'm going to lift up the 10s this week. I'm going to lift up the 12s next week. Like, I'm going to make progress. Like, it psychologically helps.
Awesome. Good. It's good to hear. And if anybody is listening to this that knows Chris, or if Chris is listening to this, then a pat on the back to Chris. Like, it's really, you know, it's good to hear, you know, that was pursuing you even when you were saying, yeah, I'm not interested. He could have just been like, oh, whatever, okay, I'll just coast the session.
I mean, like, honestly, like even like 80% of trainers that I still like know, I think that people have that mindset. And that's why, like, again, you've got to find a trainer who cares more about their clients. Like, it doesn't matter. They can have the best knowledge in the industry, but like, you've just got to understand that they put their passion and their love for like what they do into the client, because it's about that to me.
Awesome. Yeah. So good work to you and good work to Chris. let's finish with a couple of rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So first one is,
my forte.
we've just come off the back of talking about your diet.
Yes.
So it is, as some would say, restrictive or limited or whatever. What would be, if say Andrew says to you, right, I've booked a babysitter, laptop's closed, we're going out tonight.
His laptop's closed?
Yeah, laptop's
closed.
closed.
God, I would be on the phone to the hospital.
Laptop is closed,
I'd be like,
it's shut in his office, the door is shut.
Husband.
You're going out for a meal, where do you go? What's your favourite food? What would be your cuisine?
Where would I go here?
Where would you go? Yeah, if he said to you right now, okay, date night tonight, free meal off the diet, you got green light from Chris.
Okay.
What's your version now of indulgence?
Okay, so if I had no allergies and I could eat any food, I would have a roast chicken dinner.
Yes.
That would no allergies, but I can't have gluten, dairy, egg, so you can make a roast dinner, but I would have the full thing. Full thing with all the gravy, because I'm from Birmingham. So we like our food wet.
Yeah.
The more northern you go, the wetter the food gets. The gravy.
Yes,
yeah, that's a natural thing. And I would have cake. I love cake, and that's got the trifecta in it. It's got egg, gluten, dairy. I love cake. Cake is my last meal. So that would be if I had no allergies. And then if I was here in Dubai and we got to go anywhere and I'm eating to my allergies, then there's two places that I go. One is the place that I took you to, which is called Tasha's, which is it's not fancy. It's very casual, but the food is just so good. And they have what I call the fancy Tasha's. Okay. So they have another restaurant, which is high end, which is in a hotel. It's called the Flamingo Rooms. Okay. And the food is incredible, and they serve wine. So I would drink. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, drink. I really rarely drink, but I love a glass of champagne or wine.
Should you have a Lululemon sponsorship by now?
Me? Where are they? Where are they?
They're slapped up here, haven't they? I know.
That's a joke question, because basically I wore a Nike top the other day, and Chris said to me, he was like, what's that? And I was like, oh, this is old. And he was like, I have never seen you. So I've been training with him for nearly a year, and he was like, I've never seen you in anything other than Lululemon. Never. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I need to get my PT qualification and actually teach and do something, not just wear the stuff. Just wear the stuff.
You're halfway there.
I know. But it's when I did photos, so Ben came over and did photos.
I asked the question before I actually wrote this one. It was going to be Lululemon versus. Yeah. And then I was thinking, I think you mentioned a brand ages ago, Lorna Jane or something. You'd
not even comparison.
Anyway, so I started scrolling through your Instagram, trying to figure out another brand to compare it against. I couldn't.
Yeah, there's no other. I love them.
Hence why I come up with the sponsorship question, because there was no competition.
I love everything about Lululemon. I know that they're expensive, but their clothes are worth it. They're so amazing. Anyway, when Ben came over, because Ben did photos for my husband, because Ben does golf stuff as well as fitness stuff. Yeah. And anyway, then my husband left sporadically, and so I was like, oh, Ben did some photos of me, and it was just almost like a Lululemon shoot.
Yes.
And I have all of these photos. And I'm and because I didn't do I'd actually done a transformation, but I was I have so many nice clothes. I prefer me with my clothes on. So Ben was like, are we going to go into a gym? And I was like, no. So we did all of the photos outside, and I have clothes on.
You should try submitting these to Lululemon. And this is funny, actually. This is funny because, there's that infamous picture, Big Tens.
Yes, Big Tens. Yeah.
Well, I get a call from Ben the other day saying, do you think you could get in shape for November? I'm like, oh, yeah, if I had to, why?
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, if I had to, yeah, why is that? He said, oh, Jordan, the manufacturer of the dumbbell, the gym equipment brand. Yeah. Really like that photo. One, can they use it in advertising, the Big Tens photo? And two, they might get me to do a shoot for them for their new products. Will you be in the pictures?
That's hilarious.
So who knew, that photo's got me so much stick. So
I love that.
For anyone listening, I've been given the
story,
the nickname Big Tens.
I have to explain the story. I'll do it very briefly. So there's this photo of Adam, which is, so he did that 6-week competition prep that he talks about that's kind of infamous now. And he came off the back of that unbelievable shape. So obviously did a photo shoot with Ben. So like this guy, this bodybuilder, right? There he is. He's ripped. He's like lean, like really strong. He's in these pictures and he's lifting a 10 kg. So like forever now, he's just big tense. It's like, what? You can't pick up anything bigger? Like you can't? Like it just looks hilarious. Here's this guy in the best shape of his life, like lifting a 10. So now it's just like a huge joke. So he is actually going to have to get in shape, and like you are going to have to get in shape and do another one just to like lift like something more respectable.
When I was at a client shoot in May, I had 5 of my clients being shot by Ben in one day. And I said to him at the end, I brought a vest with me. Can you just quickly get a photo of me curling the 20s?
It's funny.
So I can be called Big 20s instead. So he did the photo and I do have photographic proof of it. However, I'm not really in the same
like
shape.
The way you look. Yeah.
I was pale, pasty, not quite competitionally.
It's such a great photo, the 10s, but it's just
the 10 that I'm like, Ben, why didn't you just tell me?
Yeah.
You know, he just said, just pick up a dumbbell and, the day after a show, your mind's all over the show. You don't think of the weight written on the side of it. So you're like, this will do.
Yeah.
So you just hold that there, and then as soon as the photos come back, you're like, it's a cool photo. Fuck, it has a bright red 10 in the
Oh my God, it's so noticeable. So maybe that will happen with me and Lulu.
You just never know.
I'm like waiting.
You've got to be in it to win it.
Waiting, yeah.
Last question. Who should we have on the podcast next?
So I've told you about her, but I'm obviously a woman. I love listening to all different types of perspectives. And I personally really think that you should have, there's a girl who does a podcast called Not Just a Bikini Girl.
Yeah.
And I started listening to her podcast when I was doing kind of a bit of a transformation, and would always listen to her and RNT when I was doing my steps. She's just great. She knows the bikini world. She's an entrepreneur. She's setting up a business. Like, I just think that she's a great role model for younger women who are interested in fitness, and just understanding that, health just isn't fitness, and there's a big world out there as well. So I think that she's got a lot that she could contribute.
So watch this space then.
Yeah.
I'll get her on.
Yeah.
Definitely. Awesome. Thank you for taking that time. Thank you for giving your insights. As I said, it's a completely unique one.
Yeah.
This isn't somebody coming in just talking about business and stuff. This is like real life mindset. This isn't somebody that's just read a couple of self-improvement books. Just regurgitating that. Okay. Yeah. This is like this is in the trenches. It doesn't get much more in the trenches than that. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it. And for those of you that have listened, and you do have somebody that's going through health issues, as Petrina said, just use this as the catalyst to just pick up your phone and send a message. If you haven't done already, then shame on you.
Do it.
Yeah. Okay. I hope you've enjoyed it. Where can people follow you actually on Instagram?
So I'm on Instagram as My Ultimate Health Project, which is a bit of a mouthful, but I felt it was relevant at the time 4 years ago when I set it up. Yeah. So My Ultimate Health Project.
So yeah, you can follow Petrina on that. You can follow me personally, which is at Adam Haley and the number 1. You can follow Akash, which is at Akash Magella, and you can also follow the RNT page, which is at RNT_fitness.